All right, so audience, just as a heads up, so we're drafting careers in the 1970s. So if you draft somebody who played in the 80s or the 60s and they have great accolades in there, sorry, those do not count. So we might end up drafting players who aren't as good as other players in their historical legacy, and that's just it is what it is. We're doing a 1 through 5, so some form of I mean, you can draft it however you want. If you want to just go for total talent, you can go for total talent. I'm going to go for fit, and I guess we'll do snake draft.
Yeah.
So,
Let me go first this
Max,
time. Let me go
you can
first.
go. All right, I'll give it to you first.
Give me this one. First pick. I think it's pretty evident.
Yeah,
It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
yeah. Go ahead.
the GOAT. Um,
Yeah,
so in the 70s only here, he's averaging 28.2 points per game. That's
yeah.
that's actually ridiculous to stay out loud. For over 10 years, that average 28.2 points per game, the 70s only. 14.4 rebounds a game, 5 assists per game, which is kind of fun. 5 assists a game, shout out. 9-time All-Star, 6-time MVP, 2-time champion. Uh, there's not a debate, in my opinion. There's not. He is by far the best player of the 70s. I mean, by the time he retires, he's the GOAT. And he still plays for longer than this. And
Yeah.
he's winning chips for longer than this, which just tells you how good he is. So yeah.
That's a great pick. I can't say anything to that. So that would have been my pick if I was number one. All right. So with my second and third picks, of course, I mean, it's just a great pick. Can't say anything about that. I'm gonna go with. I'll probably start with a guard. So obviously his prime came in the decade before, but I'm gonna go with Jerry West.
Ooh, okay.
So Jerry West, he was the only finals MVP, but that doesn't count because it was the 69 finals. But in 1972, he was an NBA champion finally. He averaged 29 and 4. This was all in his 30s, right? But he still was a 5-time All-Star. He was 4-time All Defense, 3 times top 2 MVP finish. So even though he never had an MVP, it was 3 times he was right there. 4-time All NBA, and he still put up 25, 8, and 4 in that season. So I like Jerry West here because that gives me a guard who's 6'5" and who's an early combo guard. He can shoot it. He can play great defense. So that kind of helps me with whoever you end up taking as your guard and guards. And then for my second one, I think I'm gonna go with an all-around player on the wing with John Havlicek. So give
Mm.
me Hondo. And so for those of you who don't know, he's actually undefeated in the finals, I believe. He's 8-0. But again, that does not matter because he's only a 2-time champion in the 70s. He was the finals MVP in 1974 against the Bucks. So, shout out to your Kareem right there because I think Kareem did outplay him, but the Celtics just had a deeper team. However, he was finals MVP, putting up 26, 8, and 5. He was a 9-time All-Star, 7-time All Defense, 7-time All NBA, and he put up 23, 6, and 6 for the decade. So for my either 2 or my 3, I have Jerry West and John Havlicek.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Jerry West did surprise me a little bit. I can't lie, but I think Havlicek is pretty, yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
pretty evident. Um, yeah,
Dang,
with
I could
that,
have I could have waited for Jerry West.
I
Damn.
think you could have waited for Jerry West.
Shame.
Yeah, man. I mean, I am gonna okay, wait, let me double check this before I do this. Do I really want to do this? Um, okay. So there's a guy I really want to pick, but I can't convince myself that he's a power forward enough to pick him. For context, there's so many centers in this draft that,
There's so many centers.
yeah, it makes it difficult. I'm gonna pick Rick Barry.
Ooh.
That's what I'm gonna go with here. Um, Let me be sure I have my stats up for him correctly. Over his time in the 70s, he kind of has a tumultuous 70s. He starts in the ABA on New York, obviously, goes to the Warriors, wins the chip, etc. Woo, happy days. And then he goes to the Rockets, and he's basically out of the league by then. Notoriously a hated player at this time. And if you want to read more about that, actually, yeah, there's a bunch of podcasts, books, etc. It's actually great stuff. But and fourth in MVP voting twice. He's a four or he's a Finals MVP in 74, 75. And he's amazing over that run. And that 3-year playoff span from 74 to 77, he was basically averaging 27 a game in total. Averages
Wow.
30 points per game in 74, 75, first team All NBA 3 years in a row. He's an all-star every single season to start off his career until he goes to Houston. So every single year he's in Golden State, he's an all-star. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna take. He's gonna
Fair play.
probably play small forward for me, I think. Yeah. And then I want to get cute, but I am worried you might still pick him. So I'm gonna go with the guy that I thought you were gonna pick at point guard. Oh, wait, actually, wait. Wait. Nah, I can't do it. Okay, I'm gonna pick Walt Frazier.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Darn.
Okay. I thought you were gonna pick. I had Walt Frazier in front of West, so that I'm pretty happy with this. For context, I mean Walt Frazier from 70 to 76 with New York is an all-star every single year. 7-time all-defensive team member, which is pretty wild. 2-time champ. Yeah, I mean, frankly, during the 70s, I thought he was the best point guard, so I'm pretty hyped right now. 20 points per game, 6 rebounds a game, 6 assists a game, 6-time All-Star, champion once in the 70s, right?
Nice. 70 and 73.
I don't remember this correctly. Oh yeah, 69, 70. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was 69 or 68, 69. So yeah, that's what I got. Also, amazing playoff performer, 20 points per game every single season. He was in the playoffs following the first chip season. So yeah.
That's a great pick. I can't argue with that selection. Great pick. Okay, I need some size and some defense, but I still want a good passer. So I'm gonna go with. I'm realizing that all my guys are white right now, which is heinous, but I'm gonna stay on that trend and go with Bill Walton.
Oh, I thought
Uh, um,
you're funny for that.
which is accidental, but it is what it is. So honestly, a short spurt of incredible play here, but I'm picking him for defense again and leadership to at least give me a fighting chance against Kareem. That being said, he was the 1978 MVP and the 1977 MVP runner-up and the Finals MVP. He was a two-time all defense. He put up 17, 13 and a half, and 4.5 in that decade before he unfortunately, was dealing with terrible, terrible injuries and was out of the league for a bit before coming back in the 80s. And then in that 99 in the 77 finals against Dr. J, he put up 19, 19 and 5. So yeah, for me, Bill Walton, rest in peace, just the ultimate pro.
Think you can argue he's the second best peak in the 70s? I think that there's totally an argument to be made there. If you the articles about him at the time when he started popping up, like going and reading those, it's like people are
Mhm.
bewildered. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So I like him as my center. I think I'll take him as my center. Yeah. Yeah, he's a center. Um, all right. So I have my wings. I have one big man. I need a point guard, and I need. All right, I have a good scoring guard. Okay, mm, I'm stuck between two guys from actually, wait, what am I saying here? Let me just go with the best available guy that I think. I'm gonna go. All right, I'll stop doing my white boy stuff, and I'm gonna go with George Gervin here.
Ah, nice.
So only get 3 seasons of good old Georgie because he was in the ABA beforehand. But from the merger, he comes in the 76, 77 season twice. So again, for 77, 78, and 79. 2 of those 3 years, he's top three in MVP finishes. He averages 26, 5, and 3. He's a three-time All-Star and he's a three-time All-NBA first team. So just kind of the gold standard of what a scoring combo guard was, or a wing. He did blow a 3-1 lead to the defending champion Bullets in the semis in that would have been 79. But that being said, he did still put up an efficient 28 and 6 in that year. So he never was able to fully scratch like the playoff issues. But that being said, I think he fits really well for my squad. So that's what I'm taking.
Bet. I think that's a great pick. He's the only he almost beats Walton, the second Walton MVP season in MVP voting too. Like so.
Right.
And that's how good he was. Yeah, you could have continued with the white boys though.
Yeah, I could have.
I am going to pick one of them.
I
Gonna
know
pick
you
Pistol
are.
Pete.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This is has nothing to do with playoff performance, if we're being real about it. He only went to the playoffs 4 times in his career. 5-time All-Star, though, at his peak is averaging 32 a game. Third in MVP voting and 75, 76, if I remember correctly. Or sorry, 76, 77. 4-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star, scoring champ. Yeah, I just want a guy who can give me buckets right now because, I got Frazier, who's a little bit more of a defensive guard. So yeah, let me get Pistol Pete in there. Take one of your white
Nice.
boys off the board.
Good pick. Good pick. Yeah, this could have been a fully all white. There were a lot of white boys in the 70s.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's the
it's
70s.
the 70s.
Yep. Wonder why nobody was watching.
That's crazy. Oh man. Okay, I'm picking between two guys here.
All right.
Ah, actually, I think I can keep one of these guys for later. I'm gonna go with another guard again.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm gonna start him or not,
Okay.
but I think he's the best player available. It's Tiny Archibald.
Oh, nice.
I
Talk to
feel
us.
like he is drafted in every single draft that we do in some way, shape, or form. So he starts off the decade, just casually scoring like 28 a game in 71, 72, and then 34 a game in 72, 73. And by the end of the decade, he is hurt, but for context, in 79, 80, for example, he's top 5 in MVP voting and whatnot. So he's back a little bit by the end of the decade, but you only get him for about 7 years here. You don't get the true back end of Tiny Archibald. Hey yo. But you get three All NBAs, first team All NBAs, you get 3 All Stars, a second team All NBA. And I think he's 34 and 11 at his peak. That is like a ridiculous peak.
I believe he was the scoring and the assist champion.
Yeah.
That season.
One of the only player ever?
Maybe Westbrook has gotten one of those, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe. So yeah, I think he's the best player available. So that's what I'm gonna get. And you're about to pick someone, and I'm gonna go. He wasn't the best player available.
Yeah. Right.
So that's what
let's see. Okay, so right now you have Kareem, Wilt, Barry-Walt, Frazier-Pistol, Pete, and Tiny Archibald. So you got a really, really good backcourt quartet. So, and I have pretty well-rounded 2s and 3s. I feel like I need another big man. And so I will get myself another big man here to start. Okay, I'm actually gonna go wild here. I'm gonna stick with the white boy trend and give me Dave Cowens.
Oh,
Man,
that's
give me
nice.
Dave Cowens.
That was the guy I was trying to convince myself could play power forward.
Oh, I thought he could, no?
You think? I see. I was looking through. I think on Basketball Reference, he's listed as a power forward. At no point does he play next to a center who gets big minutes. Like if you go through every single season, he's the one playing center. So sorry, Basketball Reference, but that was why I was like, I can't in good faith say that David Cowens was a center. I think he could have played. Sorry, I couldn't say in good faith that he is a power forward. I think he could have played power forward, but that's why I strayed away from it.
I respect your good faith. I will not do good faith.
I mean,
And I will
Walton could play
say
power forward, so I definitely
they,
just should have picked Walton too.
yeah. Um, but for a little bit of, I'm kind of taking him for the same reasons I've taken Bill Walton, but 1973 MVP. He's a seven-time All-Star here. He's a two-time NBA champion, and he averages 20 and 10 in both of those runs. Never a Finals MVP, because that went to in 76, that was JoJo White, and then 74, obviously, that was his teammate again, Havlicek. Three-time All-NBA and three-time All-Defense. So kind of shores up the big men. And then I feel like because you have this is gonna be out there. Oh, I'm stuck between a young guy and an old guy here. Um, and I feel like if I take the old guy, he might mess with my chemistry.
Ooh,
And if I take
you don't want an unk on your team, bro?
this Unk specifically, you know what? For the flair, I'm gonna take Unk. Mr. 20,000 himself, Wilt Chamberlain. So obviously this was the back end of his career.
This is
Uh,
passing Will.
this is passing Wilt, so I do like that. He put up in this decade 17, 19, and 4. Um, so he wasn't really scoring, but I think he still could score if the need was there. I just don't see us needing to score with him specifically, just because we do have Dave Cowens now on the block. Let me just put him down. Okay. So some things about Wilt. He was the 1972 Finals MVP, averaging 23, 19, and 3. He's a three-time All-Star, two-time top 4 MVP finish. So he was still up there in terms of dominance. He's a two-time All-Defensive player. He was an All-NBA player once. And yeah, I mean it's an older Wilt, but it's a guy that I think I'll probably bring off the bench for just some energy and just wrecking havoc when we need some scoring.
But damn, I
All
think you
right.
left some good players on the board for Wilt. I'm not gonna lie. I think you
I
left
might
some.
have. I might have.
Okay, you got right now you have Walton, Cowens, Wilt, and then you have Havlicek, West, Gervin.
Yes.
You have two more picks after this. Okay.
I have two more picks. Yeah. And you have one, two, three,
I have
four, five.
six.
So you've wait.
Yeah, I'll get the last pick. Okay. So with this, now I have four guys that I really want. So I need to figure this out. So I'm gonna pick a backup center.
Okay.
I think can play a little bit of power forward, probably not too much. Uh MVP once and second in MVP voting twice. Bob McAdoo, 35
Nice.
points per game, 10 rebounds a game at his peak. And at this point, he does have a playoff run where I believe he loses in the first round and averages 38 a game, which is peak 70s basketball.
Yeah.
That could like never happen nowadays, it feels like. But he's basically an all-star every like what 7 years of this run. He's top 10 in MVP voting only 4 times, but is top 2 3 times in this 3-year run. Yeah, I'm picking him. I don't love that he's really like he has a peak of 3 years and that's about it. But I think as my backup center, I'm okay with that. And then okay, and then my next pick, I'm picking between two guys. I am gonna have some fun with this. I'm gonna pick Julius Erving.
Ah. So okay. Tell us about Julius Irving. Damn.
Yeah. So Julius obviously is a beast. Comes in the NBA as a rookie, is fifth in MVP voting. Coming off 3 straight MVPs in the ABA, that it must be noted. Second team All NBA that first year, first team All NBA to follow that up. He only plays 3 years in the 70s. Didn't want to pick too many guys like that, but this is Julius. But to be fair, I think Wilt's 3-year run in the 70s is probably better than Julius's 3-year run in the 70s. So, or Wilt technically got 4 years in the 70s, right? So, but I think Wilt's 4-year run in the 70s is better than Julius's 3-year run in the 70s. But I kind of wanted Julius. I needed a small forward. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good pick. Um, hmm. Okay, so I have two more and then you have one more.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So I have right now really just Jerry West and George Gervin as my guards. And George Gervin can also be a three, so they can rotate. But I do need a starting true point guard. And I can kind of pick whoever I want between these two. I might do a like worse quote unquote player, but yeah, I'm gonna go on a limb here. Like, give me Dennis Johnson.
Ooh,
So
I
Dennis
was looking at
Johnson,
him.
yeah, he was only an all-star once, and he was only all defense once, but it was when it counted. He was the finals MVP of the 79 finals. He also passed away way too young in 2007. Rest in peace. And obviously won a bunch of rings in the Celtics for the 80s. We don't count that. But for those finals MVPs, he averaged, or for the final MVP, he was 23, 6, and 6. So I think this gives me a another defensive wing that can, or point guard that can at least try to slow down Tiny Archibald, which I don't think anybody can really slow him down, but do my best. Um, and then I need another point guard, and I'm gonna take some more championship medal here. I don't. My only non-champion is gonna end up being George Gervin. So I'll close it out with Oscar Robertson. Why not? So big name. Again, he was in his 30s to be fair, but he was still a three-time All-Star. I would love him as a facilitator here as Kareem's teammate in 1971. He was definitely past his prime, but he put up 18, 5, and 9 assists per game, and he was still a two-time All-NBA player. So he definitely fell off in the 70s, but I get 3 years of late prime Oscar Robertson, and I'm okay with taking that. So that rounds out my team.
Fair enough. Pretty good. Top, you got a yeah, you got a top five MVP voting. Oscar Robertson still. Um,
Mm,
yeah. I'm gonna round this out with a guy that I really like, that I've talked about on this podcast before, and then I was happy that you didn't pick. I
mm.
had to pick him at some point here. Kareem's teammate at a certain point. This guy
Oh,
also single-handedly, or not single-handedly, him and Wes Unseld bailed Elvin Hayes' legacy, which is why I can't pick Elvin Hayes in this draft either. This is Bob Dandridge, two-time All-Star in the
oh,
70s.
nice.
Or sorry, not two-time All-Star, four-time All-Star in the 70s.
Yeah.
Top five in MVP voting in 78, 79. That's the year after they win the chip. Consistent playoff performer, 20 points per game, basically every single season in the playoffs, except for 72, 73 with Milwaukee. And that was just a bad playoff run for Milwaukee in general. I think, frankly, he's like a really good player. This is just like I've gone back and done some deep dives on like the Elvin Hayes stuff and the West Unseld stuff and all that's and something that always strikes me is like Bob Dandridge is not only there for that, but is also a key piece on those Milwaukee teams
Hmm.
where, he's basically operating as the third best player. And frankly, on those Milwaukee teams, I think there's argument to say he's better than Oscar by the end of Oscar. Especially like I don't know, 70, 71. It's difficult to argue. Like that's the last chip winning season that Oscar has, and Dandridge obviously is on that team too. That's a little difficult. But the year after that, at least, I think that Dandridge is probably better than the Big O. So
Hmm.
that's how good I think he is. I mean, I'm just a big fan. I think he's really good. I don't know, 6'7" small forward, lanky, like really a play style that kind of would translate today. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Happy to pick him. He's gonna be a really good glue guy for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's gonna be able to play small forward. I'm basically go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 4 out or Bob McAdoo 4 out.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Nice. So that's your team. You got Kareem and Bob McAdoo as your centers, Dr. J, and Rick Barry as your in Bob Dandridge, arguably,
Yeah,
as your
they're doing
wings.
like they're both small forward slash power forward. They're all power small. And
Hmm.
then I got Frazier,
Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete and Tiny Archibald as my guard trio. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
that's like. I got my trio of guards, trio of wings, my two centers.
Maybe we'll put this up visually so people can compare them. And then for me, my centers are Bill / power forward. My big men are Bill Walton, Wilt Chamberlain, Dave Cowens. My guards primarily are Dennis Johnson, Oscar Robertson, and Jerry West. And then my wings, I have John Havlicek and George Gervin.
Yeah. And we're gonna, if we don't have a visual up, we'll at least have these in the bio. So you can check those out if you need a visual.
Real quick, any guys that you just didn't end up picking that you were thinking about?
I really want to pick Earl the Pearl.
Yeah.
I really wanted to pick him, but I couldn't, like, I don't know. He's not, as a star, wasn't as good as the other guys that we picked. And then when I wanted to pick a glue guy, I went with Dandridge, you know, so.
Right. Found interesting that neither of us even really considered Elvin Hayes or Wes Unseld.
Yeah. I would have picked Unseld. It's just there's too many bigs. Like, I could have also gone with Lanier or Moses. I guess
or Moses.
Yeah, Moses probably would have been my next center up. And then.
Right. Well,
I think you could argue Moses is better than McAdoo. Like,
that's what I was thinking about between him and Wilt, because he was an MVP and 2-time All-NBA and All Defense.
Yeah, I think. 70s. Yeah, I honestly, I would have maybe gone with that. But I think all those centers they're so same. You could have gone with Willis Reed. We haven't even talked about Willis Reed.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, other guys, Dave Bing, I was looking at, but once I got Frazier and Archibald, like, yeah, you're right. Like, before the draft, you're like, I don't got Dave Bing on my list. Yeah, you're right. Who else?
Lanier was good.
McGinnis and Chet Walker, only the other two guys on my list, and even then,
one guy I left off, and I am now kind of regretting it, was David Thompson.
I had him on my list, but yeah, dude. But with Havlicek, Pistol Pete, Gervin, Thompson he's so good so late. Like, Gervin is better than him. The first few years of them being around, so kind of tough to pick him ahead of Gervin, and then you got. Then you got like Tiny Archibald. So
the other two I had on my list were Gail Goodrich, which would have filled out my white boy, and Paul Westphal, both of whom were champions. And put up many seasons of 20 points per game. So
you know who I was kind of looking at actually that last one? Paul Silas. He was like defensive monster. He was so good on defense. People were tricking themselves into voting for him for MVP. He averaged 10 points a game one year in the 70s and was top 15 in MVP voting.
Wow.
So that was something I was looking at. That was
damn.
Anyways.